Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the headlines first. The European Union and United Kingdom have agreed a post-Brexit trade deal ending months of stalemate over fishing rights and future business rules. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced the agreement in separate news conferences. The deal will preserve tariff-free trade in goods between the two sides and protect cooperation in other areas such as security. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan and Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa have expressed concerns over India's human rights violations in occupied Kashmir. In a meeting in Islamabad, the two also discussed matters pertaining to the country's security. India's frequent violations of ceasefire along the line of control also came under discussion. They also reaffirmed resolve to defend the motherland against all internal and external threats. ISI's Director General, Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid, was also present on the occasion. The Pakistan Army says a soldier has been martyred and 7 others wounded when terrorists opened fire on a security convoy in North Waziristan. According to the military's media wing, 2 terrorists were killed and 10 wounded in the exchange of fire. In India, Priyanka Gandhi and other Congress leaders were briefly detained at a march in solidarity with protesting farmers in Delhi. While Rahul Gandhi met President Ramnath Kovind and submitted 20 million signatures against the new farm laws. Braving harsh cold, thousands of farmers have camped against agricultural reforms at Delhi borders for 29 days now. Ethiopia's military has killed 42 armed men accused of taking part in a massacre in the western Benishangul Gumuz region. According to the country's Human Rights Commission, gunmen killed more than 100 people on Wednesday. Ethiopia has been grappling with outbreaks of deadly violence since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took office in 2018. Pakistan has reported 111 new deaths from the coronavirus in the last 24 hours, the highest single-day surge of the second wave. The nationwide toll has risen to 9,668, while the World Health Organization confirms that the new strain in Britain is much more infectious. Globally, the virus has claimed 1.7 million lives and infected more than 78 million people. And in football, AC Milan beat Lazio in a 5-goal thriller at San Siro to stay on top of the Serie A table. Ante Rebic and Hakan Calhanoglu scored inside 20 minutes to make the scoreline 2-0 in favour of Milan. Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile put Lazio back on level before Theo Hernandez scored a 93rd minute winner for Milan. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. Start from Pakistan, where Prime Minister Imran Khan and the Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa have expressed concerns over India's human rights violations in occupied Kashmir. In a meeting in Islamabad, the two also discussed matters pertaining to the country's security. India's frequent violations of ceasefire along the line of control also came under discussion. They also reaffirmed resolve to defend the motherland against all internal and external threats. ISI's Director General, Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid, was also present on the occasion. Earlier, Pakistan's Foreign Office said India's anti-Pakistan rhetoric has been exposed globally. It also condemned unabated Indian state terrorism and extrajudicial killings of innocent Kashmiris. Now, for more on this, we have been joined by Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi. Mr. Lodhi, General Lodhi, today's meeting between Prime Minister Khan and Army Chief General Bajwa mainly focused on security issues. What do you think are those specific threats?
You know, under the normal circumstances, such meetings they keep on taking place, and one wouldn't have given special importance to this meeting. But I think this time it is important for a number of reasons. One, you must have noticed that a lot of ceasefire violations, they have actually increased, and whatever is happening within India, I am referring to their farmers' strike and Sikh strike and all that. They are ascribing it towards us again as if we are the perpetrators of their policies, which is of course naivety and stupidity. But under the circumstances where we have got a lot of information, our Foreign Minister has also talked about it, Prime Minister has also talked about it, about the false flag operations, about the possibility of surgical strike. I think this meeting was important. And then we also know that DISA was also present in this meeting, which means that some intelligence must have been shared with the Prime Minister. So I think as far as security matters are concerned, whatever were the intelligence, they must have shared that and expressed their whatever their assessment is. And they must have also apprised the Prime Minister about their preparation and what they want to do. They must have gotten probably approval of the Prime Minister also in certain cases, what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. So all these things, and especially because it has been mentioned about the precarious human rights conditions in Indian occupied Kashmir. So I think this meeting seems to be quite Kashmir specific. Now, what actually transpired? Naturally, we should not even make a guess because we can go wrong. So let us wait and see what happens. So I would say that this was an important meeting at a time when very important internal events are taking place within India.
It was an important meeting. Mr. Lodhi, what do you think will Pakistan's response if India resorts to another false flag operation?
Some of the responses you must have already noticed. As the Chinese defense minister visited Pakistan, we signed certain MOUs related to defense agreements. And then there was an exercise with the Chinese Air Force and PF. So that is just to show our resolve. Then whatever statements have come out. So if they go for any surgical strike, because beyond that it is difficult, an open war against Pakistan by India is not in the realm of possibility unless, some madness is exhibited by the other side. So we do not expect that, because that can end into a total disaster for this entire region. And you know what I'm referring to. So I am sure, because we have already said that our response will be quid pro plus, which means that whatever you do to us, we will do to you more than that. And I'm quite confident that looking at our state of training, the equipment, the way we have carried out recent exercises, I think we are going to give them a very bloody nose and a befitting response, much more than, much deeper than what they might be expecting.
Well, certainly a bloody nose awaits them if they try something like that. Also tell us, India has been consistently trying to malign Pakistan internationally, as revealed by the Disinfo Lab. So what steps can Pakistan take on to counter India's fake propaganda?
I think as far as the international stage is concerned, India is losing ground. Okay, the world might not have taken our, folder very seriously, whatever we have revealed. But now whatever has been revealed by EU Disinformation Lab, that should open the eyes. That was not only against Pakistan. It was against a number of countries, some of them European. So I think, and also we are now hearing voices even from European countries and from American press, seeing, giving their views, whatever is happening inside India. They talk about the human rights violations. So I think they are losing ground as far as, although they will try their best to malign us. And now that their 15 years effort has been exposed, we should be on the offensive now. And it all depends on how much we make use of whatever information has been revealed to the world and from a third party, which should be more authentic for the world to understand. So we have to look after our own interests. Oh, yes, India is trying a lot to make space in Middle East, but in my opinion, we should keep our relationship strong with these countries, because our relationship is historical and quite deep. People-to-people contacts are there, and there is no country in the world which has said that we will go and defend Makkah and Medina the way Pakistan has said. So we have special relations with these countries, and we should not get upset, although it should be a little search-soling whatever is happening. But we should not get totally upset that what all is happening. I think in the long run, we are likely to prevail.
Absolutely, and certainly India is losing ground globally. General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi, defense analyst, thank you for talking to Indus News. Now moving on, in occupied Kashmir, Indian forces have martyred 2 more civilians in a fake encounter in Baramulla district. One of the deceased was a footballer who had gone missing earlier from Sopore town. The valley has been under a curfew and communications blackout since India revoked its special status in August last year. Now, Pakistan has repeatedly called for a global action on extrajudicial killings of Kashmiris. Also, the Pakistan Army says a soldier has been martyred and 7 others wounded when terrorists opened fire on a security convoy in North Waziristan. According to the military's media wing, 2 terrorists were killed and 10 wounded in the exchange of fire. Now, this comes 2 days after security forces gunned down 10 terrorists in Balochistan's Awara district. The forces recovered a cache of arms and ammunition from the hideouts of the terrorists. Now, the Pakistan-China joint air exercise Shaheen 9 has come to a close with a resolve to jointly cope with shared security challenges. The exercise saw the participation of latest aircraft from the People's Liberation Army Air Force and the Pakistan Air Force. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Mujahid Anwar Khan and Chinese Ambassador Nong Rong attended the ceremony. The Air Chief said the existing global security scenario calls for enhanced partnership between Pakistan and China. The 10th round of the Shaheen exercise is scheduled to take place in China next year. Moving to India, where Priyanka Gandhi and other Congress leaders were detained at a march in solidarity with the protesting farmers in Delhi. Well, Rahul Gandhi submitted 20 million signatures against new farm laws to President Ram Nath Kovind. After the meeting, Gandhi said the opposition stands with the farmers. He said farmers will not go home until the laws are repealed. Commenting on the arrest of party leaders, he said there is no democracy in India. Braving harsh cold, thousands of farmers have camped against agricultural reforms at Delhi borders for 29 days now. The European Union and United Kingdom have agreed a post-Brexit trade deal ending months of stalemate over fishing rights and future business rules. The deal will preserve tariff-free trade in goods between the 2 sides and protect cooperation in other areas such as security. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced the deal in separate news conferences. Von der Leyen said the deal is fair and balanced for both sides. Johnson said now the UK will be an independent coastal state. Britain left the EU in January, but it remains under its trading rules until the 31st of December. Today was the final deadline to seal the agreement and avoid a possible no-deal Brexit on January the 1st. This means the 2 sides have 1 week to get the pact formally approved in London and Brussels. President Donald Trump has accused Iran of the attack on the U.S. embassy in Iraq's capital city of Baghdad. In a tweet, Trump threatened to hold Iran responsible if any Americans are killed in subsequent attacks.
President Trump alleged that 3 rockets which failed to launch were from Iran. Responding to Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said putting citizens at risk abroad will not divert the attention from Trump's failures at home. Zarif also attached Trump's older tweets accusing former President Barack Obama of attacking Iran as a diversion. Meanwhile, the United States has also accused Iranian cyber actors of creating a website with death threats aimed at U.S. election officials. In a statement, FBI and the Homeland Security said Tehran aimed to undermine public confidence in the United States electoral process. Iran's United Nations mission spokesperson Ali Raza Miryusfi denied these allegations, saying Tehran itself was the largest victim of cyber attacks.
Also, United States President Donald Trump has pardoned former campaign manager Paul Manafort and ex-advisor Roger Stone. This sweeps away the most important convictions under the long-running Russia election probe. This report has details.
In his final days in the Oval Office, President Donald Trump has restored to a spree of clemency. Among 29 beneficiaries is Trump's son-in-law's father, Charles Kushner. He was convicted of tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. 26 of them won full pardons, while another 3 received commutations. While Stone, Trump's long-term friend and advisor, welcomed his upgrade from a commutation to a full pardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for giving me the offer. Thank you for saving my life, because I don't think at my age and in my medical condition I would have survived in a COVID-infested prison. The President has said on numerous occasions that he thought there was a good chance I could be exonerated. I agree with that. But this is a horrific nightmare when you realize that this investigation never had any legitimate or lawful beginning. It was a witch hunt.
Meanwhile, the UN says it is deeply concerned over Trump's pardon for 4 former government contractors. They were convicted in the 2007 Baghdad massacre that left more than a dozen Iraqi civilians dead. In a statement, UN Human Rights Office spokesperson Marta Hurtado said the pardons contributed to impunity.
Also, U.S. President Donald Trump has vetoed the $740 billion annual defense policy bill. The move has potentially set up the first congressional override vote of his presidency. Trump objected to provisions that limit troops withdrawal and remove the names of Confederate leaders from military bases. He also slammed the bill for extending a liability shield to social media companies. Calling the 4,500-page act unconstitutional, Trump said it was a gift to China and Russia. Congress is poised to consider votes to override the president's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act. If it does not override the veto, it will be the first time in 60 years that NDAA does not become a law. U.S. President Donald Trump has given national security awards to top aides for Arab-Israel deals. Trump awarded the medal to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner also received the awards. The Middle East envoy and U.S. ambassadors to Israel and the United Arab Emirates were also among the recipients. In a statement, the White House said thanks to their efforts, the region has finally moved beyond old conflicts. Under the U.S.-brokered Abraham Accords, Israel has reached normalization deals with the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan and Morocco. Now, Morocco has urged the incoming U.S. administration to preserve the deal sealed by President Trump earlier this month. The U.S. agreed to recognize Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara and Rabat normalized ties with Tel Aviv. In an interview, Foreign Minister Nasser said Morocco thinks the Biden government will find a good rationale to preserve the deal. He said the next administration should continue a positive dynamic and nourish efforts for peace. Earlier, Morocco and Israeli officials signed several memorandums of understanding in Rabat. This has marked the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. More news coming up in this bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back now. Moving on with the news stories in Ethiopia. The military has killed 42 armed men who took part in a massacre in the western Benishangul Gumuz region. This comes a day after gunmen killed more than 100 people in the same area. State media says soldiers seized bows and arrows and other weapons from the men. It also said the government has arrested 5 senior local officials in connection with security issues. In a tweet, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed called the massacre of civilians very tragic. He announced the deployment of forces to eliminate the root causes of the problems. Now in Nigeria, officials in Katsina State say the mass abduction of students was sparked by intercommunal feuds rather than extremism. Security advisor Ibrahim Ahmed said conflicts over cattle theft, grazing rights and access to water led to the attacks. In an interview, Ahmed said semi-nomadic ethnic group Fulani carried out the attack. He added the attackers included former herders who turned to crime after being robbed by cattle rustlers. He said the herders used the kidnapping as a bargaining tool to settle local conflicts. However, earlier Boko Haram claimed responsibility for the kidnapping in northwest Nigeria. Now moving on, France has sent warplanes to fly over the Central African Republic as the country braces for general elections. In a statement, French President Emmanuel Macron said Paris condemns attempts to disrupt this weekend's polls. The statement added the mission was requested by the CAR President Faustin Archange. Panic grips the capital Bangui as the upcoming polls talk prospects of violence in the former French colony. Earlier, Russia sent 300 instructors to train military personnel of the Central African Army under an existing agreement. Now, with the latest on corona updates, the World Health Organization confirms that the new strain in Britain is much more infectious. This comes as the global number of deaths by the virus has crossed 1.7 million, with infections over 78 million. More on coronavirus in this report.
The nearly year-long coronavirus pandemic has been full of gloomy statistics with millions of deaths. For the second day in a row, the US set a record for COVID-19 hospitalizations with over 119,000 positive patients. However, the ongoing inoculation programs are bringing an encouraging tide as more than 1 million Americans received their first shot of the vaccine. Mexico has also received its first batch of the Pfizer drug, which was escorted by the country's armed forces from Brussels, while Canada has become the second country to approve Moderna's vaccine.
This morning, we got the news that Health Canada has completed the review of the Moderna vaccine and found it to be safe and effective. Canada has an internationally recognized process of independent review, and I know that our best experts have upheld this highest standard.
Meanwhile, lorry drivers who tested negative for the virus had begun boarding ferries at the port of Dover after France reopened its borders with the UK. The new virus strain has also been reported in Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, 2 cases of a new, more transmissible COVID-19 variant linked to South Africa were identified in the UK. The worsening situation, coupled with Brexit uncertainty, has left people's lives hanging in London.
We were supposed to go to France, but we decided about a month ago to stay here because we knew that it would be too difficult. I think at the moment COVID, but in the long term I think Brexit's going to be worse because obviously we can't go back. We live very near to here, so King's Cross, so we can take the Eurostar very easily, but I think they're talking about visas and all of these things.
Elsewhere, South Korea's early coronavirus success has caused it to scramble to contain the new wave, while Australia has tightened quarantine requirements for airline crew, now requiring that they stay only at police-monitored facilities.
Meanwhile, the new coronavirus has claimed 111 more lives in Pakistan over the past 24 hours. This is the high single-day surge of the second wave. The country's death toll has risen to 9,668. The Health Ministry says 2,256 people tested positive for the virus overnight. It added there are just over 38,000 active cases in the country. Out of more than 465,000 countrywide cases, over 417,000 people have recovered. Meanwhile, the National Command and Operations Centre says the government is in contact with the world's leading vaccine manufacturers. In a statement, it said it will soon make a decision about vaccine availability at the earliest. Moving on now, China has launched an antitrust investigation into the Alibaba group. In a statement, People's Bank of China said financial regulators will summon the technology giants and group affiliates soon. Regulators warned Alibaba about its choosing one from two practice, which prevents merchants from offering products on rival platforms. and said it received a notice and will comply with all regulatory requirements. The tech giant added that its operations remained normal. Alibaba's shares fell about 9% in Hong Kong following the news. This probe is part of China's crackdown on monopolistic behavior in the booming internet space. Meanwhile, a coalition of human rights groups has joined Facebook's lawsuit against Israeli spyware vendor NSO. The rights groups allege the company prioritizes profit over human rights. The organizations include Internet Rights Group, Access Now, Amnesty International and the Committee to Protect Journalists. The group filed an amicus or friend of the court brief in support of Facebook's fight against NSO. Earlier, the social media giant accused NSO of having subverted its WhatsApp instant messaging service. Facebook said NSO hacked into the phones of human rights activists and dissidents worldwide. Now, Diego Maradona's autopsy has revealed no signs of alcohol or narcotics consumption at the time of his death. The 1986 World Cup winner died of a heart attack on 25th of November, aged 60. The autopsy said Maradona had problems with his kidneys, heart and lungs and was taking 7 different medicines to treat depression, anxiety and other ailments. The 1986 World Cup winner battled alcohol and drug addiction for much of his life. Just last week ruled that Maradona's body cannot be exhumed or cremated, in case DNA is needed at a later date for use in paternity or other cases. Moving to Bosnia, where the burning of a camp in northwestern Lipa has forced over 1,000 migrants to sleep in the cold. Dozens spent the night at a damaged metal container near the site of the fire. Police and UN officials said the blaze was likely started by migrants unhappy at the temporary closure of the camp. But the facility had been strongly criticized by rights groups as unsuitable due to its lack of resources. Now, about 10,000 migrants from Asia and the Middle East are stuck in Bosnia, hoping to reach wealthier EU countries. The camp was opened last spring as a temporary shelter and was set to be shut down for winter refurbishing. Now, British model Stella Tennant has died at the age of 50. Her family said Tennants' death was sudden and police have ruled out suspicious circumstances. The Scot made her name in the early 1990s as catwalks for designers like Karl Lagerfeld and Versace. She went on to become the face of Chanel and graced the covers of fashion magazines. Away from the catwalk, Tennant campaigned to reduce the environmental impact of the fashion industry. She retired in 1998. Versace paid tribute to Tennant on Twitter, saying she was Gianni Versace's muse for many years. She is survived by her husband, David Lasnett, and their 4 children. Now, legendary Pakistani actor and comedian Mansoor Akhtar is being remembered across the world on his 70th birth anniversary. Through his extensive body of work, the renowned actor left a legacy which continues to inspire artists everywhere. This report has more.
Akhtar started his acting career as a stage actor in a local theater at the age of 16. He rose to the national spotlight and received critical acclaim for his performance in the PTV classic, Rosie. Together with the television maestro Anwar Maqsood, he went on to produce a number of critically and commercially successful hits. Apart from his television work, Akhtar also acted in a few films as well as theater performances alongside comedian Umar Sharif.
You called me a Derzi? You are such a known celebrity of this country, and you're not supposed to talk like this in front of so many people. My God, have you ever heard a Derzi speaking English?
The versatile actor was conferred with Pride of Performance and Sitara-e-Imtiaz by the government in recognition of his work. Akhtar died on 22nd of April 2011 at the age of 61.
Now, in the U.S. state of California, a mural is being painted to honor the work carried out by frontline medical workers during the pandemic. The painting was commissioned by medical scrubs company Barco Uniforms and non-profit Beautify Earth. Details in this report.
A superhero doesn't necessarily wear a cape. Sometimes they come in scrubs and face masks, and COVID proved just that in 2020. In California, Samir Arkanwal, also known as street artist Samir Ewal, is painting a homage to frontline workers against the pandemic. He began the image on December 14th and plans to have it finished by January.
This is pretty much to honor all of the health care professionals that's been putting their lives on the line day in, day out for the last 10 months. That's been just a nightmare, and within that nightmare we try to find some sort of hope, and that's the title of this piece, is You Bring Hope.
He will be working over the holidays, including Christmas days, to get the mural finished. He is keen to make their facial expressions as real as possible.
The expressions, you know, because I can only imagine, you know, the how exhausted they are, you know, dealing with this day in, day out. So I kind of wanted to just capture the emotion of, you know, like the one on the end. She's ready, she's prepared to go to war, helping people out, you know, and you can see her putting on her thing, and her eyes, you know, she knows she's going in, you know, to war basically against COVID, and this guy is just really exhausted, but they're there, you know, they're like, we're here for you.
The mural can be found at 2010 Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica.
Well, now this Christmas, Santa has a special message for the people. Before departing on his annual journey, he advised people on how to celebrate during a pandemic. Let's have a look.
Every year, thousands of people from around the world make their way to Santa Claus village in northern Finland to pay a visit to Santa and his busy elves. But after a gloomy year, they could not see him off due to coronavirus restrictions. So Santa set off alone for the annual Christmas journey, accompanied by his reindeers.
Parents should also pay special attention to children and young people, as the past pandemic year has been tough for them too. Many children have said this out loud to me. Among the wishes of toys and technology, there have been many hopes for a time together with parents. That is, a time when things are done together. I now wish everyone a very happy and peaceful Christmas.
In his message, Santa told everyone to stay safe and healthy and to keep connected with each other. He shared the importance of nurturing human relations in the holiday season.
We have all lived through really different and difficult times. The Christmas season will hopefully bring a little relief, although special times will continue. Now is the time to relax and to spend Christmas with your loved ones.
The Arctic Circle runs through Santa's home village, which is about 8 kilometers from Rovaniemi.
Now, on this socially distanced Christmas, a hospital in Rome has decided to give children the most precious present at the moment to make them feel loved. Let's find out what the gift is in this report.
Italy's San Raffaele Pisana Hospital has tried to convey the real message of warmth and solidarity this Christmas by arranging a plastic meeting for its children.
COVID-19 forces us to keep at least one distance from each other, to always wear a protective mask. And so I believe that in this very moment, the tent helps them to find that human warmth of which the Christmas is a symbol.
Hospital staff arranged plastic tents for the meetup, normally used in care homes for elderly people. They were then adjusted for the arms and legs of the children, even those using wheelchairs, and are sanitized after every meeting.
We got this idea by following the children who had expressed the desire to be able to hug their relatives they had not seen for a long time, such as grandparents, fathers, and also friends.
Italy has seen nearly 70,000 coronavirus fatalities since its outbreak emerged in February, the highest toll in Europe and the 5th highest in the world.
More news coming up in this bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Now, China has rejected media reports claiming Beijing's demands are complicating talks with the European Union. Beijing and Brussels are in talks to reach an investment agreement by the end of this year. In a news briefing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said talks were proceeding smoothly. A German magazine reported that Beijing's additional demands on nuclear energy have stalled the talks. The potential deal is also facing opposition from the incoming U.S. administration of Joe Biden. Now, U.S. stocks have risen slightly at open as Wall Street tried to wrap up the holiday shortened week on high note. Expectations of a gradual economic recovery spurred buying into cyclical sectors. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is trading higher marginally, while the S&P 500 edged higher by about 0.25%. The Nasdaq Composite is also up by about 0.5%. Meanwhile, oil prices reversed early gains and turned negative despite a drawdown in the U.S. stockpiles of crude. Now in football, AC Milan beat Lazio in a 5-goal thriller at San Siro to stay on top of the Serie A table. The victory leaves them 1 point ahead of city rivals Inter Milan, who would have gone top if Milan had dropped points. Details in this report.
Ante Rebic and Hakan Çalhanoğlu scored under 20 minutes to make the scoreline 2-0 in favor of Milan. Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile put Lazio back on level before Theo Hernandez scored a 93rd minute winner for Milan. In a separate La Liga match, Real Madrid beat Granada 2-0. The win takes them level on points with leaders Atletico Madrid. Benzema sealed the victory in the second half, making it their 6th successive win in the competition. Elsewhere in Ligue 1, Paris Saint-Germain beat Strasbourg 4-0 at Parc des Princes. PSG remained 3rd after the win, with 1 point adrift of the top 2. While in Carabao Cup, Manchester United beat Everton 2-0 at Goodison Park. With this win, they have booked their place in the semi-finals where they face Manchester City. Earlier, Tottenham Hotspur beat Stoke City 3-1 to book their place in the last 4.
Now in the National Basketball Association, the season opener of Houston Rockets against the Oklahoma City Thunder has been postponed. 3 Rockets players returned either positive or inconclusive COVID-19 results, with another 4 needing to quarantine after contact tracing. Rockets star James Harden is unavailable because of a violation of NBA's coronavirus protocols. The association has imposed a fine of $50,000 on Harden. All other Rockets players were tested again today and returned negative results. As one player is injured, the Rockets do not have the league required 8 available players for the game. Now, Chinese swimmer Sun Yang has had his 8-year doping ban referred back to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. In a statement, the World Anti-Doping Agency said Sun appealed to the Swiss Federal Tribunal. The Chinese swimmer was first cleared of wrongdoing by FINA, the swimming federation, in January 2019, but after an appeal by the World Anti-Doping Agency to CAS, that decision was overturned. 3-time Olympic champion Sun missed a doping test in September 2018 and was given an 8-year ban because it was his second offence. He previously served a 3-month suspension in 2014 for taking prohibited stimulant trimetazidine. Now, in the U.S. state of South Dakota is facing one of the coldest winters with a frightening heavy blizzard. The Sioux Falls Weather Service reported a record 2.8 snowfall on December 23rd. A Met has posted a video on social media showing a dangerous drive throughout the snowstorm. In a tweet, Duck said it is not safe out there as far too many people are driving too fast on roads with no lights on. The Weather Service says the previous record was 2.6 inches set in 1987. And now let's have a look at the weather updates across the globe. with the weather updates. We come to the end of this bulletin. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News. Take care.